Hey, it's Quadex here. Follow my Instagram, like the video, comment Q, and what else is there on the list? You know the list. I said every time. Anyways, let's get into the video. Roll the intro.
And today, thinking myself
Naruto felt himself grinning in anticipation as he carried a giggling Tamari to the master bedroom. Their bedroom. This was their night. The door was already open as he walked in, using his foot to close it. He set Tamari down on her feet, wrapping his arm around her waist. She in turn wrapped her own arms around his neck, gazing at him with such love that Naruto couldn't help but return with a smile. The acceptance of the thought that they were married was still settling in. They were together until they died. Nothing could separate them. The room was dark, except for the light from the lamps. Perfect. Okay, so this scene is like not at all. There's like no way I can put this on YouTube. So check the community tab. Keep an eye on that. I will be reading this on Discord, and I'll upload the Discord. I will re-edit the Discord link or whatever, so you guys can join again. I will be posting it on the community tab when I'm gonna read it and like the exact time, so you guys can join. Don't miss it out. It's very well written, I could say. I don't know how to describe this. It's a lot. Yeah, and it's pretty long too. So if you wanna hear that, join the Discord and keep an eye on the community tab. Let's get into the rest of the story. Tamari dropped onto Naruto after an exhausting round. Her juices spilling down his rod, mixed with his juices. Her stomach was a tiny bit bloated with how much of his... Okay, I might have to skip a bit more. You know what? We're gonna we're gonna go a bit ahead. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I found a decent place to start. Sakura honestly didn't know why she was roaming the streets of the village this late at night. She tried to convince herself that it was simply because she was in a good mood after her teammate's wedding, that she simply wanted to watch the stars. But that was not to be. Something was seriously wrong. That feeling was instinct. It was a gut feeling. Perhaps because she was a ninja, that feeling would be honed over time, but today it was acting up. Roaming the empty streets, she didn't know what she was looking for. Perhaps it was because... I didn't know you took late night walks, Sakura. Sakura turned around with a look of total shock on her face upon hearing the familiar voice. There was Sasuke, dressed in his getting clothes and headband, and a backpack on. Narrowing her eyes at him, she replied in a suspicious tone, "I could say the same about you." Then a stray thought flew into her head, and the possibility was too big to not be questioned about. Genin don't go on solo missions, and I don't see Kakashi Sensei. Tell me, Sasuke, where are you going? Stay out of my business, Sakura. Sakura bit a gasp at his reply. Sasuke hadn't been this cold, this uncaring since the beginning of their days as Team 7. It had gotten easier to hear some emotion in his voice since he and Naruto became, well, she couldn't call it friendship, but they definitely had some sort of a bond. He had even smiled at the wedding and in the reception tonight, and he looked genuinely happy for Naruto. Now that she looked at him, it seemed his walls of loneliness were back up. It is my business when my teammate is about to become a missing nin, Sakura snarled at him, shaking off her momentary shock just in time to see Sasuke walking past her. Her hand shot up to grab his bicep with a bruising grip, spinning him around with all her strength. Don't do this, Sasuke. Leaving us now would mean giving up all the bonds that we were worked so hard to forge with you. The bonds that Naruto was worked so hard to forge with you. I know you care for him, Sasuke. So try to understand that this isn't worth it at all. Sasuke looked at her with uncaring eyes. I did start to think that working with you and Kakashi, working with Naruto, that was my way. But then I remember what my life goal is. and I would take whatever path is needed to achieve that goal. Sakura grit her teeth. Revenge won't make you happy, least of all you. Revenge won't make anyone happy, least of all you. She hated the feeling of desperation that crawled upon her spine. Even though she had progressed, she doubted she would be able to hold Sasuke here. He was in a league of his own, along with Naruto. Sasuke's reply was blunt and crushing. Revenge is what I have chosen. Then let me help you achieve it. You don't have to be alone in your pursuit. You, me, Naruto, we can help you find your happiness. By now, tears were spilling from her eyes. Maybe it's just a leftover from my fangirl days, but I don't want the person I love to go into the cold world and become even colder. I want you to be happy, Sasuke. I love you so much. Sasuke scowled at her. You're really annoying. Sakura ignored the sting of hurt that came from his statement. She pulled back her arm and threw a punch with all her strength, aiming to knock him out. Of course, Sasuke saw that coming from miles away. Having trained with Naruto, Sakura was a snail to his speed. He easily dodged a punch and used his speed to get behind her. Goodbye, Sakura. That was the last thing she heard from her world before her world went blank. Naruto honestly had the best sleep in his entire 13 years of life. Here he was, spooning his wife in their bed after some intense lovemaking last night. Of course, his rate of recovery was something that very people could hope to match. Actually, scratch that, no one could match his rate of recovery. He was the one who had the strongest Biju inside him, not anybody else. Which was why he found his eyes fluttering open at 5:30 in the morning, arms around Tamari, whose back was resting against his chest, back to full energy. She was sleeping peacefully, tired because of the activities of last night. Strangely, Naruto actually felt proud of tiring her out. Now, he just held Tamari close to him as he closed his eyes. Nothing could ruin this moment. Ring, ring. Of course, he just had to jinx it by thinking about it. He checked his wife, relieved that she was still sleeping. He slowly disentangled himself from her, careful not to wake her up. Spreading out his senses, he was surprised to find the similar yin-laced chakra signature of Chikamaru. He soundly walked out of the room, without waking his wife. It was only when he reached the door that he realized that he was buck naked. He hesitantly formed a ram seal, transforming some clothes onto him. Opening the door, he raised an eyebrow when he saw Chikamaru decked out in his Chunin uniform, with a serious expression that was rarely seen on his face. It was obvious that Chikamaru was not here on a social visit, so Naruto got straight to the point. What's the problem? Sasuke is gone. If there was even the smallest amount of sleep remaining inside him, it was wiped out by the news that was delivered. Are you saying he left the village? Chikamaru nodded. I checked his house, and there was no signs of struggle. Sakura was also found knocked out on a bench on one of the roads. He left on his own free will. A small amount of hurt grew inside Naruto. Why would you leave, Sasuke? He was careful not to let it show on his face. He forced rational thought into his head. Why did he leave? When did he leave? Sometime in the early morning. Tsunade-sama sent me to get you for an emergency retrieval mission. Naruto nodded sharply. I'll meet you in our office in 5 minutes. He shut the door gently and brisk walked to his bedroom. If Sasuke had left on his own free will. He shook his head as he entered his room. He wanted answers from the source. He had warned Sasuke on what would happen if he were ever to leave the village, and he had thought that Sasuke had understood. He had thought that he and Sasuke had an understanding between themselves. Guess he was wrong. He washed his face and was about to dress up when a shuffling of sheets from behind caught his attention as he turned and found Tamari waking up, giving him eyes that were barely open. What is it, Naruto? Naruto smiled and simultaneously cursed himself for not having a camera, for his wife looked absolutely adorable right now, buried in sheets, hair in a disarray, and rubbing her sleep-laden eyes with her hand. Even her voice sounded like that of a child being forced to wake up. Sorry for waking you up, he said while putting on his armbands, but there's an emergency. The idiot has left. Now she looked annoyed. What, after our wedding night? He gave her a look of apology. Seems like it. If it makes you feel better, the emergency is big enough to warrant my presence. Holding the sheet to cover her chest, she asked, "What is it anyway?" He zipped up his Jonin jacket. "Uchiha Sasuke has left the village." She was immediately alarmed like him, but she woke up a little more. "He is your friend, isn't he?" He had tied his headband around his bangs by now. "I thought so now. He's potentially a dangerous missing nin." He walked to Tamari and sat down by her side, taking her hand in his. He said, "I'm sorry, but I really have to go." Tamari sighed. "Why can't someone else go? Why were you specifically called? Why not some other Jonin?" "I don't know, Tamari, but I have to obey the Hokage's summon," Naruto explained. Tamari frowned in worry. "I don't like this. Our first morning as husband and wife being interrupted, but go." Naruto smiled. "I'll make it up to you." He stole a quick kiss and was gone in a flash. Naruto prepared outside the office, just as Shikamaru was waking up to the door. He grumbled as he reached Naruto. "I wish I could do that jutsu. I wouldn't have to walk anywhere after that." Naruto snorted beside him. "I thought you would have the chakra to spare." He knocked the door, and after hearing the permission to enter, they both went inside to see Tsunade, sitting behind the desk, looking as if no one had asked her to get up at 5 in the morning. Naruto cut straight to the chase. "What happened? He actually left on his own free will?" Tsunade nodded, face grave and eyes blazing. "Yes." Sakura was found knocked out on a bench by the main road. She tried to stop Sasuke, but he overpowered her. She told the nearest ninja upon waking, "We believe he was enticed by Orochimaru or one of his shinobis." "How could a guy like Orochimaru Shikamaru?" Naruto glared at his friend, shutting him up. "That is not the priority at the moment. Our first and foremost objective right now is to retrieve Uchiha Sasuke." He turned to Tsunade. "I request a team of Chunin and Jonin for this mission." Tsunade's face turned regretful. "Sorry, Naruto, but I can't grant that request." Naruto raised an eyebrow. "Why not? We only have the bare minimum Jonin here to protect the village. All the rest being sent out on missions. You'll have to do with Genin." Naruto crossed his arms. "I presume I stayed because of my wedding?" Tsunade nodded. "That is correct. Now, I'll give you the only thing I can at the moment. You have the freedom to choose your teammates for this particular mission. As the only Jonin in this team, you're the team leader, Naruto." Naruto nodded and turned to Shikamaru. "If you're gonna have to do with Genin, we must hurry to round every tough guy among the remaining rookies, which is sadly only the one. The other is a pretender, and the last one is a cookie, quite literally." Shikamaru nodded. "I think I know what you mean. I'll get started right away." As he turned to leave, Naruto told him one last thing. "You have 10 minutes to assemble who you can, Shika. I'm appointing you my vice team leader. As soon as you assemble everyone, you start on your pursuit. I'll catch up." Shikamaru's eyes widened. "Wait, what do you... That's an order, Shikamaru." In a frustrated growl, Shikamaru asked him, "How the heck am I supposed to assemble who I have in mind in just 10 minutes? Wordlessly, 7 of Naruto's shadow clones popped around them. One of them grabbed Shikamaru, and all of them disappeared in a flash as one. Naruto turned to Tsunade with a frown. "What is going on? I saw Kakashi last night. Why can't he accompany us?" Tsunade shook her head. "Kakashi has gone for a mission outside the village. You don't know because he went in the early hours of the morning. He was supposed to leave in the evening, but I allowed him to stay because you invited him to your wedding." Naruto bit back a curse at that. He took a deep breath and relaxed. "Okay, you want Genin to go to an A rank, possibly S rank mission. You'll be sending them to their deaths." "What choice do I have, Naruto?" Tsunade snapped back in frustration. Naruto glared at her before bowing his head in thought. Lifting it up, he whispered her one question. "How do you want to bring him back?" "What do you mean?" Naruto asked the question. "In what condition do you want him back?" Tsunade took a deep breath. "I would tell you to get him back alive if possible. But since this is Orochimaru we're talking about here, I want you to bring him back any way you can. We cannot risk Orochimaru getting the Sharingan." Her eyes were hard, and Naruto understood the meaning behind her choice of words. Sasuke was to be brought back under any condition, whether it be alive or dead. He gritted his teeth. "If I'm gonna do this, I want backup. I'm not risking my team like this." Tsunade stood up in a fury, sending her chair skidding back. "I told you, I don't have enough shinobis to spare for this mission." Naruto tilted his head. "Maybe you don't." A smirk graced his face. but our new allies do. Chikamaru was in a bind after Naruto had basically told him to scram, and if that was not enough, sent him off with his clones as help to gather up whatever team he had in his mind. At first he was annoyed, but when he asked the clone that why couldn't they just flash to Sasuke and retrieve him, the clone in all seriousness informed that Sasuke didn't have the FTG mark, which meant Hiraishin was out of question. Without wasting time, he had sent one clone to get Choji, Kiba, and Neji. He told the rest to dispel themselves. Chikamaru couldn't get Shino, as the guy was on a special mission with his father. They could have really used the stronger absorbing bugs for help. Lee would have been a great addition to the team. However, he was still recovering from the surgery to put his limbs back together. However, Shikamaru wanted to pull his hair out when his clone was sent to get Choji, said that Akimichi had come down with a case of food poisoning and as such won't be able to join the team. They were literally down on a 4-man cell now, just like they had started their ninja careers. After putting together a plan of pursuit, they had set off, and even caught up to the Sound 4. Shikamaru's plan had worked, to a point. They had managed to trap one of them with the Shadow Possession Jutsu. Unfortunately, the Sound 4 seemed to have planned for that, which shocked Chikamaru to the core. They had greatly underestimated their opponents, and now they were stuck inside an Earth Dome prison. The fat guy named Jirobo holding it from outside and sucking up the chakra through the walls. Kiba yelled in frustration, his claw digging into his hair. Dang it, the longer we stay inside, the more chakra the bastard is taking from us. It sucked. The unintentional puns were not helping. The unintentional puns. Neji tried to remain rational and decisive. There must be some sort of weakness that we must find quickly. He muttered quietly, but the frustration was clear in his voice. What weakness? They had been inside for almost 15 minutes, and Shikamaru couldn't risk getting any of their chakra drained. He took a deep breath. Whatever he was about to say was interrupted by a thudding crack on one spot of the dome, as if something had been smashed with brutal force on it. They had tensed up as the prison started rambling, and eventually the walls fell around them, only to reveal. They all relaxed slightly upon seeing Jirobo facing them, a blank look on his face, the forehead of which having the beginning of a nasty bruise and small rivers of blood. The most significant thing, however, that caused Akamaru to whimper slightly was the blade that was sticking out from in front the Sound Nin's throat. It was clear to everyone that Jirobo was a dead man standing. The blade slid back, and Jirobo fell on his knees, followed by his upper body, his face kissing the ground rather ungracefully. Dara looked up to see the eyes that were cold as ice and as sharp as a sword, the anger simmering in like boiling lava in a volcano. Naruto? Kiba cried out in shock as he saw Naruto kill the nin without an ounce of remorse in his face. How did you? I didn't give him a chance to prepare. Naruto cut him off. As soon as I sensed him, I used body flicker to get right to him and shoved the blade in his throat. The butthole was too absorbed in his monologue to see me coming. The nonchalant way he spoke about killing Jirobo was extremely unnerving, causing everyone except Chikamaru to question whether Naruto was a closet psychopathic killer. Kiba's face turned into a snarl. We might have had an easier time if he had gotten here earlier, but Naruto was already walking past them. I need to ensure that we at least had some backup. I'm not gonna get you all killed because there was a shortage of shinobi in the village. Nah, come on. We're losing precious time and distance. He started running, and the others assumed a formation that Naruto guessed was Shikamaru's idea. The set Chunin caught up until they were side by side. Naruto, there is something you need to know. Taking his silence as Naruto listening, he continued. They have Sasuke in a coffin, sort of. We believe him to be still alive, otherwise it would make no sense for them to kill him. There are 3 others we will probably have to face, and the number of opponents might include Sasuke, if the guy really did go willingly. He reported, grumbling the last bit. You don't need to worry about Sasuke. I'll take care of him if it comes to it. Naruto assured him. Shikamaru nodded at that. He was probably, the only one in their team who could stop Sasuke. Naruto continued speaking, in a loud voice so the others could hear him. The lack of traps suggests that they expect the lot of you to be handled by the fat guy, which means we have a slight advantage, if only slight. Kiwa asked them in confusion, "What the heck are you talking about?" "The element of surprise. They won't be expecting us to catch up to them this quickly, so we have a bit of time to come up with a plan." And that is where I will be ending it. I hope you've all enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next part. Roll the outro.